Good evening. Welcome to another edition of this very special State of Affairs program. Today been very special for the first time in this new cabinet. We're having one of the ministers to join us on this edition. With me in the studio is Momodu Mboj. I'm sitting in for Mr. Aliu Sise, my co-host. Mr. Mboj, welcome to State of Affairs.
Thank you very much, Siri.
Thank you very much. With me is nobody but Babukar Usmaila Juf. Mr. Juf, welcome to State of Affairs.
Thank you, Sidi. Thank you, Mr. Mboj. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Juf, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Position. A big part of a successful development depends on the effectiveness of public sector administrators. Perhaps the reason why President Barrow created a new portfolio responsible for public service administrative reform, policy coordination, and delivery. And that happens to be my only brother, Mr. Juf. How do you feel being given a new ministry without a template?
That's a big question requiring an enormous answer. Well, I mean, I felt challenged when I was invited to receive the description of the new ministry. Like anyone else, I started asking questions. What is it that I'm expected to achieve? Because this is massive. It's massive work. And then I answered the question myself that this is about getting government to perform. It's about government performance, which is everyone's interest. The president got it right by identifying the lack of performance for being responsible largely to our slow progress with a lot of sectors. And let me just backpedal a little bit. I got to, through my research, understand that this ministry was conceived of in 1991. There is a Public Service Act, which was assented to by President Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. The act has been in place since then. President Barrow, for excellent reasons, came up with the ministry better late than never this year to bring about efficiency and effectiveness in public administration. That is not to say that it was in the wrong place, because this portfolio was hanging in the office of the Vice President throughout the period that the Vice President was responsible for public service administration. Now the President has made it possible through this decision for my team to specialize in the public administration part, so that the Vice President would focus on bigger state matters and look as well as other ministries. So this specialization helps me to answer the question, what is this thing about public administration? What is it that we need to fix? Recently, as recent as last week, the Vice President reminded all of us that the Gambian people are asking questions and they are becoming impatient because they are no longer at ease. And that's a powerful message. We know we have a lot of people in government who are highly trained, highly educated, highly skilled. The motivation bit is something we can talk about. But what is important is the public is feeling that the services that the public owes them. Because when we talk about public service, it's what the public does that the population consumes. So we provide services, government provides services, the people consume these services. The consumers of public service are the ones who are becoming impatient because of the slow pace of things getting done. those things that are getting done that are slow are even better than those things that are not being done. A lot of things are getting undone. Things are not being done effectively. So we are charged, we are responsible. We have been given the mandate by the president to follow on the assignment, the mandate of each ministry, the remit of each ministry, each SOE, each agency, everyone on government payroll owes the president some feedback, owes the president some form of returns on investment. So this is what my ministry, the ministry that I lead, has a responsibility to first, that is our takeoff point. We go back to the drawing board, try to understand what each ministry has to do. We go back to the mandate. We go back to the laws where there are areas we need to amend, to harmonize, to synchronize, to ensure that the overlaps and all those things are cleared between ministries, between SOEs and ministries, parent ministries. So all this work needs to be done to sort of put the legal environment, the legal framework, in its right perspective. Then all this has to be done through multitasking. It's not one after the other. We also need to ensure that people, the staff, the public servants are very clear with their TOR. They must be very sure of what is expected of them. Then we work on the plan. You are very familiar with the National Development Plan. If that is the government blueprint, that is the roadmap that this government seeks to achieve, attain, and so on, then the ministry's work mandate must dovetail into that National Development Plan. All this, my ministry is concerned and particular about this happening and happening correctly, so that those plans now dictate the sector plans of each of the ministries. But this is about planning for performance, planning for execution, planning for impact, planning to impact the public. And that has to start with the planning.
Exactly. Can I just ask you this? Let's clarify this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we use public sector and the public service and civil service interchangeably. Are we right in doing that?
No, they are different.
Different, exactly.
They are different. The public service is broader.
Yes.
The civil service is part of the public service. The public service covers everybody on government payroll, whereas the civil service removes the specific units like the military, the SIS. Those ones will be left out of the civil service. They have their own jurisdictions, their own cadres, their own service commissions and all those things. So this is about the entire public service. It doesn't mean this ministry is going to be responsible for recruiting soldiers now. Those things will remain as is. But the ministry will be concerned about the military, the defense ministry, having agreements with the president to provide this country territorial integrity, for example. Have they delivered that? The president will want to know at the end of the year if this has happened. With the police, internal security, property and lives, have this too been delivered? At the end of the year, the president wants to have a clear report. So you begin with that. Go to education, it's the same. So it's different.
That's it.
My mandate is the public service.
That's it. So I know that we have there's a Secretary General and head of the civil service, so that would be under you. That would be reporting to you.
No.
Wouldn't? Okay.
No. The Secretary General and head of the civil service is working in close collaboration with the ministry. And
your ministry?
Yes, and has certain lines of reporting. They are broken lines, according to the structure, to my ministry. Because the position of Secretary General is the status of a cabinet minister. It's not like the office is reporting to my ministry, but then we have some collaborative reporting. I do provide them data, they provide us some data. Certain decisions are taken or carried out in consultation with our ministry. So it's like a partnership.
Okay. If I get this right, the flashback.
Yeah.
It's called check the checkers.
Yeah.
your ministry basically is the checkers.
Supposedly, yes. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yes. So in that, you earlier on talked about lack of performance.
Yes.
And yes, you don't have the miracle wonder to tell us why the lack of performance is here. As a trained teacher, if I'm right, when your class doesn't perform well, we got to look at the teacher. We got to look at the lesson plan and the lesson note of the teacher.
That's right.
Right now, you've been in this office for a few weeks or maybe a month. What, on top of your head, can you tell us, primarily, that have, put the heels behind the wheel?
In fact, if we're using the simile of the teacher and teaching, let's go a bit further and look at the curriculum. That's key in determining what instructions are given in the classroom. So bringing this to the public service, I know a lot has been done and not communicated. When I went into the office myself, initially I thought I was starting from zero, but I'm getting to realize that no, a lot of things have been done over the last 3 to 4 years because government has a 10-year reform program. This is just looking at the reform aspect of my agenda. Since 2018, from 2018 to 2027 is the duration that this reform is targeted. A couple of things have been done. The problem is the fragmented nature of the efforts and the impact not being felt because we do not have a structured performance management system in the public service. The absence of a consciously crafted PMS has made it difficult to gather information about what is happening in the various ministries, has made it difficult to document adequately what is being done. But yes, there has been some reviews. There has been some review of the existing situation. They have done some work on objectives, what the reform agenda needs to achieve at the end of the 10 years. And all these things hinge on the absence of a performance management system. So coming to your question, what has been in my mind over the last 7 to 8 weeks as being responsible for the problem with performance in many areas of the public service has been the lack of conscious systems. The processes and systems and procedures have some challenges that we need to fix. We need to be very clear, for example, if we are recruiting somebody, PSC, between the job analysis and the advertisement to complete the recruitment process, everyone should be clear within the PMO what comes after what's entailed in the value chain to get somebody employed. When we're talking about promotion, what is involved? How do we get the data that we analyze that links performance at the execution level to the incentives, to the reward system, to the consequences where performance is absent? Because these things need to come in.
Yeah, but I guess you're missing out from my question. I'm talking about, let's put our finger down on the lack of performance.
Yeah, the lack of performance, well, I said, CD, I think I mentioned the absence of a performance management system. That is a whole cycle of activities. It's not just one event. A performance management system starts from the conceptualization of work to a plan that is...
So meaning, you said earlier, some work have been done.
Yes, some work has been done.
From what you've just said, lack of performance management scheme, that means you have to go back on the drawing board to put that in place.
Yeah, to a large extent, we're going to start from scratch to introduce a performance management system. There has been some training. Over 200 public servants have been trained, I have been informed reliably, on performance management systems. But the training that they have, gone through was about software that is coming, how that software is going to be utilized, the connection between this regime of training that has taken place and the actual execution is sort of a gap, and that needs to be connected so that we kick off right away with execution that goes along with monitoring and evaluation. Because if you want to have records, you want to keep record of what is happening, you have to have the full cycle in operation at the same time, so that what is going on is being recorded, and as you go through the stages, your records are being utilized to determine what happens at the outcome level.
Thank you very much. Mr.
That's something you said earlier about the programs, the 10-year program,
Yes.
the plan.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this must be very, very difficult for policymakers, especially in a country where you have the 5-year electoral cycle. You may win, but again, you may lose.
Yeah.
The winning party will come with a new manifesto.
Yeah.
So it will come in with new policies on the basis of which they were voted in.
Yeah.
So isn't your planning necessarily circumscribed by these short-term horizons of the electoral cycle?
Well, in certain areas, but with the public sector, reforms, when we are talking about the reform agenda, reforms are ongoing. They never stop. I have read some instruments from the Jawara regime, and the reform agenda was always on the table. PMO, the Personnel Management Office, was created as a result of, it's like history repeating itself here. When government realized that the office of the president was overloaded in Jawara's days, they decongested the office of the president by creating the establishment office, then the PMO name came later. It's the same thing that is happening now. So reforms will remain, even though the president's 5-year tenure, may end one regime or another, the reform agenda will remain. Even if I accomplish all the plans I have in mind, mark you, there will still be need to reform, because human beings, as we graduate to more sophistication, greater sophistication, our needs change. And once the needs change, we always want to go back to the drawing board and change something. So I look at my mission here as a change mission, and all I'm trying to do is change what I think is not working in what exists and maintain what is existing, which is part of the reform. Maintaining
Absolutely.
even the good things from within the system that we have at the moment will be part of my reform agenda.
Absolutely. Just one more. Of course, with a change of government, you might have a change of emphasis,
Yeah.
a change of direction,
Yeah.
and all of that. But how would you respond to this view advanced by former Secretary General Abdusara Jangha in 1994 when this thing happened? He was the last. When he said that the creation of your ministry here structurally, because whether it will be effective will depend on how well they coordinate, they work together. And here you are the Minister of Coordination, imagine that.
Yeah.
So saying that your ministry being there is also the Secretary General, head of the Civil Service Office. In the President's Office, you now have a Chief of Staff.
Yes.
And then I think you still have the Cabinet Secretary. Isn't it a crowded terrain? Possibly you may have different parties, and then you will have a tough war. How do you respond to that?
A tough war, I can assure you, Mr. Boj, will surely be avoided, because, well, the bottom line that defines all of us is that we want to see the government perform. All the Achilles heels that held us back, we want to remove. So because I am fortunate to have policy coordination, strategic policy coordination is a department in my ministry. We are looking at the policies as well. This area, you are right, can be a little bit congested, and we can once in a while, have some friction, but that's not going to mean anything negative. It will be about getting the environment right and fixing what needs to be fixed so that we all become more efficient and more effective. So really, the policy coordination unit is with my ministry, and one of our tasks is to ensure that government policies are designed with our full participation. One, the DSPD takes part in the promulgation, the design of all policies. We are also looking at all the policies and how they overlap, how they influence each other, the contradictions, probably wherever they exist, the duplications, so that we harmonize the environment to avoid government shooting itself in the foot. You know, you can't have policies that speak about brown whilst another one or other policies talk about white. We need to bring them together to ensure they speak to each other. That includes the environment between the Office of the Secretary General, the Office of the Chief of Staff, and the Public, Service Ministry.
I mean, Honorable Minister, my fear here is, are we not going to be bogged down with theoretical, what I would say, outlook on issues here? Because, I mean, since you started, you talked about a lot of theoretical stuff. We're going to do that, we're going to do that. But you're talking about a hungry population. You're talking about a population, like you've said earlier, the Vice President said, Gambians are asking questions. We want to see visibility in this change. We've been here the last 5 years to see something that has been demonstrated, that we can set our eyes on. How soon can we see the visibility of that reform?
The reform is in place already. The ministry itself has brought about some change. But I would want to ask Gambians to give us a few more weeks, because there is a lot of work to be done. The pronouncement came in and, summoned all of us to some work at cabinet level. There are some acts that are in place that prescribe something different, where you have the acts talking about the permanent secretary PMO does A, the vice president does B, leaves out the state of the minister. The act speaks about the minister of public services. So we need to harmonize this environment. That requires that the Ministry of Justice does some amendments on some of these acts. Then we bring these amendments to the National Assembly. They have their procedures, committee level, first reading, second reading, until this thing can become law and the president signs them. Unless that is done, there are certain things that will restrict the ministry to still working through the vice president. And because we are working through the office of the vice president, it means other ministries will also require a percentage of his time. So during this period, even though we are trying to expedite this, we are trying to make this very quick, there'll be some slowing down for maybe a week or two. But yeah, when shall we see the impact? I think the impact should be felt immediately. There are a couple of things we need to do for people to start feeling that, I went into this office, I was looking for that, the response time was quick, turnaround time was quick, quicker than used to be. What has happened? But this is what we are looking for.
Because the role of the civil service is basically they're providing service.
Yes.
And we as consumers, should be satisfied with the service. But you turn around, you ask anybody. I mean, if you go into, say, for example, you go to immigration to get a passport. I mean, at the end of the day, you end up wasting weeks and days just to lay hand on a passport. You go and get whatever document or whatever business, it wastes quite a lot of your time. So as far as the customer service here, I don't feel it has been felt by us citizens. Yeah. So that is one thing that is missing. And I think the creation of your ministry and the role that you're going to play in this reform is to put that life back in these sectors, because I feel for some point or at some point that we have a lifeless ministries or lifeless individuals sitting in offices. How do we put life back?
I want to be very, very realistic with the Gambians, because I know you'll bring me back on this chair at some point and remind me the audios that you are recording today. You see, the reforms at instrument level is the easiest part of my job. To get the instruments harmonized by Secretary of State, a Minister of Justice, for me is the quickest fix. Okay. The harder part of my job is where we have to change attitudes, where we have to change the behavior of Gambians. I believe every Gambian loves this country. Everyone here loves the Gambia. But we have a problem realizing how important we are to the Gambia, to the Gambia's sustenance, Gambia's development, improvement of our services. Everybody has some contribution to make. So it's that attitudinal turnaround that I cannot give a timeline for. The instruments we know we can give ourselves 3 months, 4 months, we can say, all right, National Assembly will finish with these amendments. But the attitudinal change is for all of us. And programs like this are very important, that we come out and ask people to change. Change is the easiest process I know. It's to unfreeze from wherever you are. You've been responsible for summarizing forms, applications for passport, using your example. You are doing 10 a day. Why are you spending an hour on a form that is just 4 pages? Ask yourself the question, can't I do 40 a day? And you move towards doing 40. It means you are unfreezing from your current position, that 10 is what you can do a day, to moving towards 40. But you see, that's not only all that you need. You need supervision. And that supervision is to ensure there are service level agreements between the supervisor and the employee or the executor. And that's important within the performance management system, that you're going to have a system where supervisors and the supervised will have agreements. And there'll be a proper supervision where notes are taken and compared during a review process. What this will do is for us to look at whether this officer, who is doing only 10 forms instead of 40, is wasting time. There is a lack. There is a waste of government time on the mobile phone or on the computer, on Facebook or on Gentes or something else, and not delivering the 40 forms that they are supposed to do. So those targets are the ones the supervisors will be looking for. And that comes out in the appraisal system, which feeds into an incentive system. So once you have this in place, people will look forward to incentives. You see, there is one problem we have in the public service that must change. And that is, we have not been enjoying incentives-based rewards, or rewards that are based on performance. And that must change. What we have is the longevity criteria, the seniority criteria. So people do not have to be outstanding to outpace their colleagues. They just have to be there for a long time. The longer you serve in a place, the greater chances you stand to excel. That must change. There must be rewards that are based on the outcome of what people do when they go to work. And this starts with the time you clock in, the time you clock out. What you do against your service level agreements, the targets that you set yourselves with the supervisor, and the performance you execute within your agreed time. And this is not rocket science, CD.
But we just go for a quick break. Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Minister. We'll just go for a short commercial break and we'll be back.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, QMoney and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your QMoney account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any QMoney agent across the country to receive your payment for free, or use the money immediately to buy credit, QPower, and other QMoney services. It's fast, safe, and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Calpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. Our guest today in the studio is Honorable Minister Diouf. Mr. Mboch?
Yes, I was about to come in. And earlier on, you were talking about really the paucity of data in most of our management. So it makes me wonder, so how do we do the diagnostics? I'm reminded of a very interesting story where the head of the Ghana Civil Service had experts come in, and then he said to them, I want a picture of what is going on. So they applied standard measurements to go out there to record productivity. People are giving tasks. How long does it take? The quality and speed of processes, citizen satisfaction. So with these metrics, then the head said, God, this is the first time that I've really seen our civil service. I wonder if you might need a similar process to actually get a picture of what is going on, which will give you a lever to really change, transform things. But surely, because of the lack of data, that is another challenge for you to really get a realistic picture of what is going on.
That's why it is harder because, for me to put my finger on exactly what is going on. I can only see the bigger picture, which is the absence of these instruments, which should form the basis for an effective performance management system, which goes along with the monitoring, the monitoring of data, the analysis of data. You talked about measurements. All these things need to play, because unless you are able to have an effective, efficient way to measure what we do, how we do it, you cannot segregate. And naturally, we have to start segregating workers. There are those who go out and come back with nothing. I'm a Serere. I come from the fishing community. Sometimes we go out with our boats, we come back with nothing. So you need to have a measurement tool within the system. I understand the Commonwealth Office is providing the Gambia. It's currently being used in Ghana and India and other, Commonwealth countries. I understand it has a very, very, very good future on measurements, weighting of, various aspects, various competencies, various skill sets and all that. All these things need to be put in place. But you are right. At the moment, most of the things we are saying all around the absence of a system to even collect the data, not to talk about to analyze it. So we are starting from the beginning. And that's why, CD, I don't want to give myself a timeline so that when you're looking for me, I'm hiding. This will take some time because it was not consciously done for a long time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Wonderful thoughts, wonderful ideas. Well, the philosophy stands out brilliantly. But the virus is the corruption. I can get a passport a day by giving it to an agent. That me, my very self, going to get a passport. I can get the driving license in a day by giving to an agent. Myself, it will take me weeks. Unless and until we chop it off, we are not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what philosophy you may have. Bring the Holy Book, the Bible, the Quran, and throw it out in the office.
Yeah.
The corruption must be stamped out in each and every department.
I must unpack what I said earlier, that I have the greatest task of bringing about a turnaround in our attitudes. When we talk corruption, some people become very uneasy. But you see, corruption is not targeting government, it's targeting the individuals in government. It's the people in government who are corrupt. And that is what slows down the process. Now, take for it, back to the passport, CD. It is my view that if there is proper supervision, I talked about, I think I mentioned incentives 3 times, the rewards 3 times. Reward systems matter. And this government has they've broken records when it comes to salary increases. But you see, it's not all about salary increases. There are other things. Even the work environment can be the incentive that makes people feel good about their job. Well, it's about getting them feel good about what they are doing. So for me, this attitude issue will be dealt with seriously in terms of corruption, taking bribes, going through the back door, taking shortcuts. We, the Gambians, must first of all change by feeling we should not embark on a journey to, if you like, short-circuit the system. I talked earlier about introducing systems. There must be a clear, transparent way to get a passport. There must be, within that chain, to receive your passport at the exit point, there must be checks and balances. And I believe so much in the Japanese theory of quality assurance. Let's induce quality in our processes and our procedures to make sure within that process, no one is capable of short-circuiting it. But it starts with us. It is every Gambian's job to take a commitment that moving on, now that this change is coming, from today, I'll make sure I honor the processes under my supervision. The supervisor has a role to play. And this must be at every level, not just the passport. It's the same with registration in school. It's the same with recruiting a police officer. It's the same with recruiting a driver. We must respect systems. In this country, I have gone to buy cash power. And the small boy will walk in. You have people with gray hair on a queue. They will come in and they want to shortcut us and buy cash power and go. These are all things that we allow ourselves to grow in. These are the things that lead to the impatience that allow us to bribe in order to get our way. So it's attitudinal change, and it's the entire country that we are talking about. We must be patient to allow processes to be followed through. Those in charge of those processes must be sincere to the country and do justice to it. But that's a journey that you and I would have to embark on, to continue educating the people about the vices associated with allowing somebody to get their way. Because those who get it are the people who go out and say, this country, you can buy your way out. It is an insult on all of us that we have to avoid.
Do we then encourage whistleblowers and protect them?
Of course. See, and Mr. Boj, we are at the ideation level. We're currently generating ideas. But one thing we will want to, my ministry would want to have, I've started discussing this with the PSC, with the PMO staff. We will want to give Gambian people some opportunity to be able to communicate to the ministry what their ideas are, what their views are. We are going to develop this in our website. One thing that the PSC has already developed that I can mention here, because we are very close to launching this website, is to give Gambians, wherever they are in the diaspora, the opportunity to apply for recruitment in government wherever they are through the website. You will be able to go in there, log in, apply for a position that you want to work in, get interviewed online. If you are successful, you can pack your things and come and work for this country. But within that, framework, we want to set up a platform where people can go in and suggest. Every Gambian has an idea. Everyone has a good idea. Rather than throw this at each other unceremoniously, let's harness these ideas, generate a pool of ideas. A think tank can go on there every day and harvest ideas that we can implement right away, those that we can do in the medium term, those that we can do in the long term. So yes, we will give Gambians forums.
I'll come back to you.
That's it. I just want to pursue this a bit. How would you respond to this argument? That a lot of people, we are the way we are. We treat the state the way we treat it. I mean, using it as a kind of extractive resource because of the nature of the state. So this is really a rational response to what the state has given us here. When you take the politics of patronage, which might be a big challenge to you, because the other day when we saw the appointments, when we heard the vice president at the retreat, then I said to one of my friends, I said, I think, if I can remember right, in the 1980s, Jawara really wanted to tackle corruption and the like, and I think he formed this group, a commission of some sort, I think headed by Fafambai, if I can recall right. What happened? When vested interests ganged up on him, he had to leave. You see the problem there you face. I
can tell you, Mr. Moj, that in this cabinet, a couple of us deliberately took a pay cut to come and work for the country. You have highly qualified Gambians sitting there, starting with the vice president. He left a job in the World Bank to come and work as a cabinet minister. So you can do the interpretation yourself. We have credible Gambians. We have highly credible Gambians in that cabinet. I can assure you and guarantee you that I may not be able to say everyone, but I can tell you a significant number in that cabinet would reject such an argument, and they will not take it for any reason. I can guarantee that there was no point coming. We could have stayed where we were. We came because we thought there was work to be done and we were capable of putting in our contribution. This is an agenda that is top on the president's agenda, that we have to deliver. We have to change. We have to be genuine. We have to be sincere with the Gambian people. And we do not have any excuse, because we see him more regularly than anybody else. So he has every chance to hold us to account, whilst you people don't know. So the reason this ministry is given this mandate, in my concept note, it is clearly stated that we will have to take everything from the public service and account to the president. So I would not want to go to the president and start saying, Your Excellency, maybe next week. No.
Has he given you the resources to do your job? Do you have the resources to do your job?
So far, everything I need, including assembling a team that is ready to take on this fight alongside me, has been given to me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. When you talked about reform, great, but again, we have to look at what we call facelift. There is a facelift for certain institutions, and facelift in the sense confident building. The trusts have been broken down in this country. I mean, we don't fool ourselves, if you forgive me to use that word. And again, we need to save lives in this country.
Yes.
We are losing lives every day. Take an example of the road accidents in this country. Gambia is one of the fewest countries in the world that still doesn't have an authority that looked after our driving license. If you go to other parts of the world, you got what is called DVLA, Drivers Vehicle Licensing Authority, whereby vehicles need to be checked to be fit on the road. We don't have that here. You go around about my area, around the turntable, some of those vehicles are just accidents waiting to happen, and they're still moving on the road all over the place. So when you talked about reform, we talk about saving lives. There will be no reform if lives aren't safe. So is this something that you're going to be looking at to see that you can pioneer a call for an authority that looks after our licensing and the authority that look after our vehicles? And two, you talk about, let's look at the police, for example. There is an issue when it comes to confidence with the public. We don't have an institution, which is the Gambia Police Force, with an independent body, Independent Police Complaint Commission. The police of this country, police themselves, is a complete disgrace in modern democratic society, whereby an institution as important as the Gambia Police Force police themselves. So these are things that definitely, would help and would see, a facelift in this country, and will bring trust and confidence between those who are serving us and us as the consumers of these services.
You talked about a facelift. The confidence facelift that this country needs, in my view, is in view. It is in view. I can assure you that already I've been contacted by Gambians from all over the world, including experts on security who are working even in the UN system. They are saying, I'm Gambian, this is what I do for other countries. I'm available in case you need me. There will be opportunities for us to talk to, of course, the Gambians, whether they are at home or abroad, to look at the security sector like we will look at every other. You see, the DSPD, which is a strategic, institution in the ministry, responsible for looking at policy, looking at strategy, looking at coordination, looking at delivery. This agenda itself is supposed to be delivered, and I have a unit specialized in this. So they are looking at everything, and we are not underrating anything, we are not ruling out anything, we are not writing off anything. Everything we have is going into our basket. We're going to analyze them, we'll prioritize them, and we'll attack them one after the other. In order that not only in security, in every aspect of our public life, we want to see life and that facelift coming back. We want people, the public, to realize that we are concerned about it, even though fixing the problems may take a bit longer than they anticipate. The good thing is we have started making efforts to respond to their queries. Their impatience has been felt, has been recognized by the president. A ministry has been set to bring about this facelift. That is my job and my task. And I'm calling on Gambia, and I mean Gambia, everybody. I'm not mentioning any political party. I'm talking about Gambia. Let us all come on board and design a public service that we think is fit for purpose. A public service that will deliver to us the service we want to consume. If you're going to the market to cook your own food, you go there, you buy the ingredients you want, you come in, you mix them the way you want them. Mm-hmm. You control the salt to the level you want. You control the sugar to the level you want. So the taste of the public service we want to consume is in our hands as Gambians. Let's build that. Let's cook that food that we want to taste.
Now, I'll come in here just very, very quickly. We are told that for public service institutions to function well, there has to be that reasonable autonomy, as it were. With you as a minister, you are a political appointment. So you might be there representing the interest of the party in power. that sort of thing. So yes, and we've seen in our history how really politics comes back really to scupper and really subvert institutions and our structures. It's really politics. So you're in a quite curious state there, because on the one hand you need to be to some extent a technocrat, following strict scientific reasoning and logic and stuff. Yet there will be political pressures.
Yeah, as much as politically conceivable, I will still have my political cap with me. But that doesn't go to work. That is on the political stage. When I go to work, I'm going to work in a Gambian office, not in a NPP office. I go to work in a Gambian office. And when I'm there, I'm colorblind. I'm party blind. I am just seeing the Gambia. And that is what it should be. Those influences may try to creep in. They may. I mean, that's again part of the attitudinal change that we will encourage. For people to realize that being there, I'm not minister for NPP militants. I'm minister for the Gambia. My NPP affiliation is between me and my party. That is outside the office. When I go to work, I'm working as a Gambian. And that's what we all need to encourage. It's part of the attitudinal change. And those coming in who may not be NPP supporters should not also come in feeling that, no, this guy will say no because even if I say no, I'm not saying no because we belong to different parties. It's because I believe within my frame of reference that that is not the right course to follow or pursue as a country. Yes. So let us sort of distinguish between party affiliation and our commitment to our motherland. When I held that Quran to swear, I said something in relation to the Gambia. I did not talk about NPP. I didn't mention that in my swearing in. So I swore to serve the Gambia. So help me God.
But I think that you've told us that you are a member of the party.
Obviously.
But he said later on, you need not be a member of the party to be in the cabinet.
No.
Isn't it? Stuff like that. So I just wanted to get yours clear that you are a member of the NPP.
Of course, I am a sympathizer of the NPP.
Are you a signed up member?
A supporter of the NPP.
Are you a signed up member? Are you an official member of the party?
I'm not sure that
there is such a thing as official membership, having to sign a register somewhere.
Probably you want to join me in signing an official document to become a member of the party.
All right.
I am a member of the party.
Okay, all right.
Not a sympathizer, but a member.
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. It seems we are running out of time. Earlier on, we talk about all these things that are in play. But looking at where we came from when the president put this cabinet together, a lot of Gambians are upbeat, very happy, I can say that. And I can say it for public disclosure. I personally call you from the UK to congratulate you. Not because you're a minister, you and I, will always stand on the side of the road and talk about Gambia. Yeah. That matters to you and it matters to me. So the starter, if I go to a restaurant, I have a good starter, I expect a very nice main course. So I would give credit to President Barrow that he has given Gambians a good starter, having a cabinet that definitely Gambians are very upbeat. Just before we wrap up, I guess the expectation from the Gambian people. What do you have to offer us come December 2022?
December 2022, we would have had our planning process over. Our research would have been largely complete, and we would have been ready to launch a substitute NPP, NDP, National Development Plan, which starts in January 2023, I hope all things being equal. And by then, every ministry, every state-owned enterprise, every agency would have been ready with a plan to execute their mandate within the new NDP and ready to roll and run with their program January to December 2023. So the rest of this year, I could be slower than I think, but I could also be faster than I expect.
It would be a bit of a juggle around.
We have some things to overcome.
Issues.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Some bottlenecks to overcome, but they are doable. As far as I'm concerned, come December, I hope I'm not giving myself an open invitation for December. We should be ready.
Yes.
And I should be able to tell you we have our planning complete, we have our structures complete, we have our training complete, and we are ready to roll.
And this must come with standard.
You see, the standardization goes beyond the training and all. It's standardization across every aspect of the society.
And must be felt by us.
Exactly.
Mr. Boch?
Yes, I'm just a simple comment. And we are told that administrative reform is really quite unpredictable in many ways. You have barriers and opportunities mixing. How do they produce the right outcomes? But yet one likes the confidence, and next year or two, I'm sure we'll have this discussion again.
Well, thanks, you're giving me 1 year or two. That's a very good timeline.
No, you're too generous.
That's a good timeline.
What we're doing here is quite complex. That's why it's not been easy
but
since independence.
I don't want to raise the expectations so high.
The point.
And you bring me here in December and I'm saying, no, Mr. Boyd, please wait. But I can give you assurance that we'll be ready to roll by end of December.
Honorable Minister, when you talk about reform, we talk about standard must also be seen, and we must see quality as well. And this quality must not only be visible, but must be seen, and we must feel this quality. So to conclude, give us some quality as we go.
Quality, CD, must be defined again. You have various definitions of it. I know Mr. Boyd, is very good at going philosophical. Quality will be defined by the Gambians. Yes. And that's why I said earlier, if you go back to what I said, let us design the service we want to consume together. That's where we'll build the quality in. That's where we'll define what quality means to us. And as we are consuming the services from government, we are putting it against that test stone to determine whether the quality we defined, the one we defined at the beginning, is the one we are getting at the exit point. So we will do that together as a country.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Boch. Final word, please.
Gambia, we want better. We know we can do better. We have the skills, we have the KSA, the knowledge is here, the skills are here, the abilities are here. We have a program, we have a development agenda. No one can do it. No donor can bring us development. No donor can bring us sanity. Sanity must come from within, and that we must deliver ourselves to ourselves. So if we are delivering to ourselves, I think we should deliver the best to ourselves. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Good point to wrap up. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Boch. Stay tuned to join us next week, the same time, the same place. Bye for now.